Okay. Hi, everybody. We're live. Had a little bit of a technical difficulty there right at the beginning, so I apologize for the few second delay. But I'm here tonight with Corey Hale, and I'll introduce you to him here in a second. And just want to say thank you if you're listening and watching right now. Obviously, if you listen or watch later, same thing. Thanks for eventually checking this out. I know that sometimes this broadcast overlaps with other things and folks have to come on and check it out later. So I certainly appreciate you doing that whenever it happens to be. So a couple things. I'm really excited about this topic we're going to be covering tonight. I think that this is something that everybody needs to hear. This, is not just about election or whatever it is. This is a issue that addresses many of us right now. And so I'm really excited to talk tonight. Our topic is going to be working as a conservative teacher and what a daunting task that can be at times. And just a perspective from Corey on his role as a conservative teacher. And the other thing that I'm excited to talk about is justify.org. Website is not completely finished yet. I'm just sharing that off with people individually for feedback, but our Facebook group is up and running, and our business page over on LinkedIn is going, and I am so incredibly psyched. I already have a few people who have agreed to work in our core foundation leadership team on that. We're going to start meeting and looking at what actions and operations we're going to take. So really looking forward to that. Please, if you are Facebook friends with me or you know me, there's a good chance you're going to be getting an invitation to join us. This is an activist group that's based on action. So it's going to be great to talk online and all that, but right from the get-go, we want to start to define some very specific courses of action that we're going to take. If you're interested, if you want to continue to support our community, our entire state, we're looking to broaden that membership throughout the state. So if you can join us, if you want to keep working toward these ends of protecting our liberties and protecting our values, then let's jump on board together and let's create an army of people who are ready to stand strong together and take back our state and save what we have left of it. So please look for my invitations to join our group, justify.org. And all right, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Corey. Corey Hale is a public school teacher, teaches fifth grade at Briggsdale School. It's part of the Weld County Schools. And Corey also is on the Weld County GOP committee. And so he's active and involved there. We actually met because we were commenting on something on Facebook. And I was like, wow, there's a teacher who wants to work and who understands what the situation is. He's politically voicing his opinion. And so I said, hey, come on, let's talk and let's share what we have to say with everybody else and get people thinking and moving forward. And he said, absolutely. So welcome, Corey. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Cynthia. Yeah, as you mentioned, I teach at Briggsdale School in the fifth grade, and in Briggsdale, if most of your listeners probably don't know where Briggsdale is, it's about 25, 30 miles, about northeast, a little northeast of Greeley, almost 25 miles directly east of Alt, Colorado on Highway 14. So if you're heading to Sterling on Highway 14, you're going to pass Briggsdale. And I've been teaching this is my second year at Briggsdale, or I'll be beginning in my second year at Briggsdale, a sixth as a teacher overall. I taught 4 years over in Rio Blanco County and Rangeley, Colorado. So that's clear over almost near Utah. And so I'm excited to be here and everything, and give a conservative perspective on teachers. I really think that we need to have a voice more now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to this year, and just with everything that I've been doing, and especially now watching what's going on social media and in the community. People are completely fed up with the far left liberal indoctrination that our children are having, and a lot of people are wondering why teachers are the only essential workers who get to dictate whether they're going to work or not. Every other essential worker has to go to work, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So let me just, you talked a little bit about your experience as a teacher and where you teach. Both the places you've taught are a little bit rural. So can you talk a little bit about some of the unique issues that might face you in the rural areas, or some of the things that being in a rural area are easier for you as a conservative teacher?
Well, I think it's easier to teach it's easier to teach the values of America. You know, it's easier to be able to say, hey, you know, this is what America was all about from its foundations. And we're not being forced to teach evolution. We're not being forced to teach some of the extreme positions that the liberals have taken on homosexuality, on same-sex marriages, the transgender. Don't even get me started on. I mean, and so that is the great unique thing, is that I've been blessed to be in two different school districts that had Christian superintendents. We had Christian teachers that were staff. There were a few that weren't necessarily Christian, and you get to know your community. You're part of that community, and you're very close. And that's the thing. People, I mean, you can't hide in those rural communities. That's one of the challenges of teaching, though, too, in a rural community is you can't hide. You can't hide in your classroom and hope that no one sees you. You know, so I've been blessed with the school districts I've been at, and you know, I haven't had to teach anything that goes against my beliefs. And probably as a teacher that's a liberal, and sorry, I just got, and this goes with schools, I just got something about CHASA, notification about CHASA being delayed. So if you heard that ding on my computer, that was about CHASA delaying the sports season, you know? So here we are in a rural, this is one of the challenges that we have in a rural school. You know, private sports is what the community comes out and is a part of. We don't have that now. And so and that's a tough thing right now. I mean, and so as I said, the other challenge is everybody knows you. So
yeah. Well, and I think that, you know, when you say you've been blessed to not have to teach things that really go against your principles, I definitely know that, you know, a lot of other conservative teachers have not been as lucky, particularly those who live and work in more urban areas where there's just so much higher pressure to fall in line with that far left mantra, particularly in the schools. And so that's good to hear that. But I do know that there are a lot of conservative teachers. And I think, you know, the Facebook post where you and I met, there was another teacher there who was conservative. And, you know, she was saying that she hasn't had that luck. In some ways, I think she felt more scrutinized and that type of thing, where, you know, she was being pressured more. And of course, I know other teachers who have said the same thing. So just to piggyback on that, and then I'd like to come back to the whole notion of sports and some of the things that are going on with kids and communities and the you know, kind of just distance and how people are being pulled apart. So where can conservative teachers get support? What organizations do you belong to? And how does that work in terms of the teachers union, other things? What options do teachers have, and where can they get support?
You know, one of the organizations that I'm a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of it, is Christian Educators Association International, Inc. It's a great organization for teachers, especially Christian teachers, that do not want to teach their values, or do not want to teach the NEA or the CEA. Christian Educators Association International has people that'll pray for you. They have people, lawyers at the ready. I even think they're better than the National Educators Association in the fact that they give you a $2 million liability, and they are tell you what you have a right to do and what you don't have a right to do. And so, as a Christian, so they are a great organization, better than the CEA, the NEA. And one of the things I hate about the CEA and the NEA and our universities, because it happened to me at the University of Northern Colorado, they push the CEA and the NEA. Our student teachers are doing that, which I think is abhorrent.
So if there's any doubt in anybody's mind, are the teachers' unions at any level, or is it safe? Let me rephrase that. If there's any doubt in anybody's mind, is it safe and accurate to say that those are liberal guided organizations?
I would say yes. In fact, the NEA pushes homosexuality in the classroom. They push for abortion. They push for things that are totally against my values as a teacher. And so, I will not be a part of it. And this Christian Educators Association International is one of the best organizations that I know, which will stand up for Christians' liberty in the classroom for teachers. And they even will send out a magazine every month, and it's less. It's only $22 a month. Wow. Or about $23 a month. So it's even less than the NEA and the CEA.
So let me ask you this too. And so, although conservative values and Christianity quite frequently go hand in hand, right? Mm-hmm. There may be people out there who consider themselves more conservative, or at least they don't consider themselves liberals in their teaching and that type of thing. But maybe the Christian aspect of that is not something that that they feel is at the forefront of their mission. So what would you suggest to those folks who are falling more toward that conservative side, but maybe that's not the piece? Is there another way for them then to get support, or what would you suggest for them?
That's a good question, and I would have to do a little bit more research. I think there's a few organizations out there on that. So I one of the things that I would do is look. I think there's an association of teachers or something like that, ATF, or I'm not exactly sure what they're called out there.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I guess part of what I'm asking you to, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot to say which organization specifically, but I guess what I'm saying is, I think that a lot of people who teach, who have more conservative values, feel forced to be part of these liberal run organizations and unions and that type of thing. So for the general public, a lot of people don't know how that works. So are you forced to be part of those things, or can you choose not to be?
You're not forced to be a part of the CEA.
Okay.
You're not forced to be the NEA. Colorado has a law that says you cannot force somebody to be a member of the union. So you can't force somebody to be a member of the Colorado Educators Association or the NEA. And so don't think, or your local educators association. The local educators associations are probably your best choice if you just want to be a member of that. So if you want to get protected, you could probably try to be a member of the your local educators association. At the schools I've been involved with, we don't have one. I don't believe we have one here in Bricksdale. We had one in Rangeley. I just chose not to be a part of it because of my membership. And, Christian Educators Association doesn't necessarily, they won't, if you don't want their magazine and everything, they won't send it to you. But like I said, they do offer that $2 million liability. So it is something that covers you. And they would
it's still an organization that, even if that's not your primary issue, that you could find support there.
Yeah.
If you support those conservative values. And again, I didn't mean to put you on the spot about that, because I just went and Googled, right, conservative teacher associations, and there's a number of them out there. People can find them.
Yeah.
I think what I wanted to point out is I feel like a lot of times we are led to believe that teachers don't have any option but to be part of this liberal system that drives these schools and school districts and teachers and that type of thing. I think we're led to believe that they're just kind of forced down that road. And I think what's important for us to understand is that is not true. It's a choice. And if more and more teachers who don't ascribe to the mantra of those groups were to stop participating in those groups and start to form their own groups or support other groups that are out there, we could see really a force of people coming together that could stop that. Does that sound accurate to you, Corey?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's exactly it. We've got to stop trying to think that we have to be a member of the NEA or the CA. And it's why it frustrates me that UNC or your teachers' colleges out there will send a representative from the State Educators Association or the National Education Association or Educators Association out to those places. There's more out there. And I was blessed to have my cooperating teacher say, look into the Christian educators, and I was blessed to be able to, from the get-go, once I even started student teaching, go with the Christian Educators Association, go with an alternative group to the CEA or the NEA. So yeah, that's what we need to start doing, is looking for outside groups and looking to form our own groups.
When you talk about UNC and colleges promoting those liberal groups, that's just more proof at the systemic, repetitive indoctrination by extreme liberal groups in our college system, in our educational system from K through graduate school, right? It's not just at certain levels. I taught college for 10 years. And as a conservative teaching college, I felt ostracized constantly. Sometimes I felt afraid to even say what I thought or felt, but I did it anyway. I'm usually not the kind of person that shies away from kind of going against the grain, but I know that there were other people who sometimes didn't want to fall into that liberal system, even at the college level, but they felt compelled to do that. And, I just keep saying over and over, inaction is a choice. And there are people who suffer consequences for our choices. And if the colleges that are teaching people how to become teachers, that are giving the degrees in that, are immediately indoctrinating you into the notion that you have to be part of that system, then of course people might not know any different and they feel compelled.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. And we've got to get out of that idea that we have to go along with the flow. Find those alternative groups that are going to be who you agree with, and stop thinking that you have to go with who the colleges send you with. Yep, exactly.
Wonderful. So, I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, of course, there are some people out there and there's comments. And I think that, like I said, again, the comments you and I were making when we first met online here were kind of about this whole notion of the schools opening and teachers and them being essential workers and getting back to work. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about schools opening, what you think and what you see as the primary problem here.
I think the primary problem is it's fear-based, or it's we want to we're wanting to comply with the governor. We're afraid that authority is going to smack us on the head, and we need to stop that. And some of one of the frustrating things to watch is these teachers worrying about getting sick. You're worried about getting sick all the time. You're going in with students that may have a runny nose or a cough or something like that. If that's your worry, and they're writing will up, that's just stupidity. Sorry, that is the absolute definition of insanity. They're making their own wills. I think I saw 40% of teachers are making their own will. That's the definition of insanity. You know, I mean, at the age group I teach, 5th grade, they've told kids they don't have to wear masks under 10. So, you know, the other thing is the suicide rates of our high school students has shot through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to think about the social and emotional well-being of our students. And, you know, there are kids that could be in an abusive home situation through all this. They've been out since March. So that's 6 months. And it's crazy. And we're talking about keeping them out further. If we don't think about those things, I mean, depression is shot up in kids. Not just it's horrible.
It's deplorable, actually. You know, when you were talking about sports, that's what made me start thinking too about depression and other things. We have a lot of high school students and students going into high school who have created a future for themselves around their sports, their extracurricular activities, their music, and the things that they do. And to take a whole generation of students and tell them that those dreams are going to be shot away and thrown completely away, and they have no more chance of doing that, because realistically, these kids, if they're missing out on a year and a half of these activities, you know, all of last spring, all of this year, which I'm sure that they will somehow find a way to drag this out throughout the school year. I mean, we're talking about kids who had hopes and dreams of going on to scholarships and a number of different things that feel like those dreams are destroyed. I have an 11-year-old son who has suffered a tremendous amount of emotional, social dysfunction over these last 6 months. I mean, he has exhibited a number of different times just depression and dismay, feelings of despair and hopelessness over and over. It has been such a horrifying thing for me as a mom to watch him go through that and to feel so helpless about what it is that I can do to help him. And, you know, people say, well, you know, you have to look at what the greater issue is here and why is he feeling like that and that type of thing. Well, the reality of it is children who have a routine and their entire world is disrupted at a time when there's so many other social things going on, social unrest and catastrophes almost in our society, it can bring on feelings of hopelessness, despair, and that's all leaded to depression.
Yep.
So, you know, we're talking about kids getting sick or things like that, but yet we're not looking at the offsetting rise in suicide and other issues that are coming out of this, you know?
Yeah, there's a cost to all of this, and it's tough. It's you know, I mean, I know of another teacher who, here in Brigsdale that her daughter was working so hard to recover from a rotator cuff surgery so she could get back to playing fall sports and basketball and things like that, and she was ready to be back. And that's just been pulled out from under. My mom called me up and told me about Chassa earlier today, and she said my brother who coaches high school basketball in Johnstown, he's like they don't know what to do. They're trying to figure it out with this, and it's like, we're putting sports on hold, we're putting our kids on hold, and there's kids going hungry, there's kids possibly being abused, there's kids that are getting depression over this, there's kids that are suicides are going through the roof on this, and we've got to think about that. And yes, is there a chance I might get the coronavirus? Yeah, but there's a chance I might get a cold too, and
or something else, pneumonia.
Well, yeah. There's always a chance. We've got to stop thinking that. And there's a teachers group out there, and this just frustrates me. They want to push for gosh, what was it? What did I see? I think it's 14 days to safe open schools or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they're pushing for rent and mortgage cancellations, things that have nothing to do with those. I mean, single payer healthcare.
Yeah.
What does single payer healthcare have to do with getting our kids back in school?
Yeah, nothing. Because it's an excuse to then push other political agendas and that type of thing. And, we talked about increased suicide. We talked about depression, social, emotional, the destruction of our sports teams and all of those other things. Less to say, we have a whole generation of kids who are getting zero education right now. Mm-hmm. All of the metropolitan school districts in March, April, and May did no new material. We had an entire quarter of school where they learned zero. Yep. Zero. Now they've been out all summer, which, okay, I know they normally would be out all summer, but now going back into school, they're postponing it. First it was a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Now it's a month. Right. And then they were going to go 2 days, be home 2 days, if that was one of the options, or be home all the time. Now the 2 days are getting cut back. In other words, we're just getting to the point now where there's no education. I mean, it's bad enough we have all of these other extraneous issues, let alone a whole generation of kids who are having no education this year. We are basically saying you're skipping a grade. Yeah. I mean, that's in essence what we're doing, is having them skip a grade. I taught college for 10 years. I taught a lot of your traditional age, 18 to 22-year-old students. I did have some non-traditionally aged students there, but a good majority of my students were 18 to 25 years old. And I can tell you, I taught online. And I taught courses that were developed and designed specifically to be taught online. They were being taught to adults, at least by age, that type of thing. And to tell you, I truly believe that probably a quarter or less of the students that were in my online classes were truly and genuinely successful in an online learning situation. And I don't measure success by just getting a passing grade, okay? I measure success by coming into a course and leaving a course with a base of knowledge that you can carry with you into your future that will be useful to you. And so if that's the measure of success, and with adults, not even a quarter of them were successful in online learning, I can tell you right now, there's no 11 and 12-year-old, probably, or even 16 and 17-year-old who's going to be successful at all in an online learning situation. Well, I don't usually use the word stupid, but it is the stupidest, most criminal thing I think someone can actually come up with to expect children of that age to learn in that situation.
As I've told a lot of people, I said most adults can't do online learning. Most kids can't do it. There are a few exceptions, and we do have those. We do have online learn. I think there's K12.org or something like that, and some of these other places. But most adults can't do online learning. So why do we expect the kids to do it? So,
well, it's not only about their capacity to do it, Corey, but the other thing is the kids who are successful doing online learning, like through a homeschool program or something, they have typically an adult whose full-time responsibility is to supervise that child. That adult at home is helping supplement that education, sitting and watching them, creating a schedule for them, making sure the work is getting done. How are we supposed to allow children to do this when they have two working parents, like my family?
Yeah, it's tough. Yep.
Yeah. You know, I have a single mom who works for me who has a 4-year-old in preschool and a 6-year-old in first grade. She's a single mom.
Yep.
I'm at risk of losing her. She is contemplating having to quit her job because she does know where to put her children, no way to get them into school, transport them, provide for childcare for them. She can't do it.
No.
And this is what we're creating. And anybody who says that this is not a political act, I think is blind at this point. They need to understand that this is not just holding up what school, this is not just about teacher safety, but this is really about further destruction of our economy and our way of life as we know it.
Yeah, and I would tell those parents that are tired of that are hearing their teacher say this, contact your teacher for one, and get out there and, you know, if you are frustrated with what's going on with our schools, contact your school superintendent, contact your school's principal, contact the school board members. You know, get involved with your local school board, go to local school board meetings.
Run for your local school board.
Yep. If you're a parent, you have every right to run. Don't give an excuse that, let me tell you, that Joe Blow over here, I mean, I think Denver Public Schools has that Tay Anderson. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done watching him. He doesn't even have any, to me, he's never been in a classroom probably. He's never touched a classroom, but yet he wants to tell everybody else what to do. Listen, you go and start to run. If you are frustrated with those things, go run for your local school board. And you know what? And get to know what your child's curriculum is. Get to know what your child's being taught in school, and you cannot be afraid of backlash. You have every right to know what your child's being taught. As a teacher, I feel like I am an extension of the parents. And let me tell you, if I don't like what's being taught, I'm not going to teach it. So why should parents shouldn't expect that same thing? They have a right to say, no, we're not going to teach this to our children.
And I'm just so excited to see your passion about that and telling parents, get out there, run for the school board, know your school board members, support someone else who's running, who supports your values. Stop with the mantra, stop idolizing and promoting and sharing. You know, one thing I always say is when we see these comments and people sharing comments like this guy in Denver you're talking about, stop sharing him.
Yeah.
Stop giving him fame.
Yep.
You know, don't share his big face all over everywhere. Just stop. Don't let him, don't promote him. Even if you're sharing it to bash him, you're still giving him airtime. Cut it out, you know. And, you know, I was so fortunate this last year. My son has had some very good teachers. Now, through third grade, he went to private school. And then in fourth, we started going to public school. We were in Jeffco for a year, and that was a complete nightmare. He had a teacher who was horrific there. She was abusive, and the school district just ignored it. But this last year, the last 2 years, he has been so very lucky. You know, just a shout out if any one of my son's teachers from the last 2 years over at Penhawk or Quist are watching this. I mean, I feel so blessed that I have found some teachers in the last 2 years to teach my son who genuinely care, who are not interested in shoving crap down his throat, and who were willing to work collaboratively with me, to have meetings, to email me, to let me know what was going on. But the thing of it is I shouldn't have to feel blessed to have that. I shouldn't have to say these teachers were the exception. That's how it should be. That's how it should be as a parent. I should always feel comfortable talking with and meeting with the teachers and asking what's going on and getting a response. That shouldn't be the exception. That should be the rule. Yes. And far too often as parents, we have just let it slide. We have allowed that to not be the case, and we've kept our mouths shut.
Yep. Yeah. You can't do that anymore. You know, I'm not a parent yet, but I know if I'm a parent, I'm going to make sure that I know what's being taught to my child. And when I do become a parent, I'm going to know what's being taught to my child. I'm not going to have them just out there on an island somewhere. So.
Yeah. Well, we are getting close to the end here. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I just get so pumped up when we talk about this subject. I feel like I'm almost yelling, but that's okay. You know, I feel like what's that movie Broadcast, right? When he's like, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. You know, I mean, that's what we all need to say. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Pound your fists, and don't just pound your fists, though. Get the hell out there and do something about it. And that's what I've been trying to promote, is action. You know, it's so easy for us to all say we're angry or pissed off and frustrated about it, but get out there and do something, anything, actual action to make a difference. Like you said, get to know someone, question it, run, do something. And that's what I'm trying to do by just bringing these topics to people, getting them thinking, bringing information to them. Me, myself, you know, being in the community, going out and trying to take a leadership role as much as I can, or a servant leadership role, because that's really how I feel about it, is that it is about serving others and serving the public, serving our next generations. So I like your passion when you were talking about it too. You know, it's just like, it's so infuriating, and some days you just want to bury your head in the sand and not even think about it because it's exhausting. Yeah. But we got to come up, get air, and go forward.
Yep. And that's exactly it. Can I, before we go, I just want to mention one of the reasons that I'm here talking to you today is, and with the passion that I am, is partly because I am blessed to be a part of a church that does get out in their community. I have a pastor that he goes to the county. He'll go to city council meetings in Greeley and Evans, and he'll speak out. And that church is Destiny Christian Center in Greeley, Colorado. They are an amazing church, you know. But we've got to be active in our communities and in our areas, and just continue to speak out and continue to speak forth. So.
Well, everybody, we're going to wrap up for tonight. Corey, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that Corey's already jumped in my Facebook group for justify.org, and I'm going to try to just bug him until he agrees to be a bigger part of that. So I've been starting to just be a thorn in the side of a few people I know who I think would be good at this, and I'm just going to keep poking until they go, okay, Cynthia. So I'm going to poke away and we'll go from there. So my call to action tonight, share this video. Please share this video. And when you get my invitation to join us in justify.org, please click yes and come in and take action with us. So have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.